Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Tony Hawk, pro skater, and this is The Breakdown.
What, in your opinion, is the best skate movie you've ever seen?
I think the apex of skating in a movie was Back to the Future. That inspired a whole generation of kids to start skating. I feel like Back to the Future is a hugely important movie for skateboarding, especially in the 80s. It influenced a whole generation of kids to start trying skating. You know, many of the older pros now started skating because of this movie. It influenced them to get their first board.
How much money you got on you?
Well, how much you want, Biff?
So here's an interesting fact about Back to the Future. Eric Stoltz was originally Marty McFly, and they shot with Eric Stoltz for 5 weeks, and he had a stunt double that was a skater, Bob Schmelzer. For the first 5 weeks, they shot with those two guys and shot a bunch of skate footage with them, and then ended up letting Eric Stoltz go. So they ended up hiring Michael J. Fox. So they had to reshoot all the skate scenes, but some of the scenes, they still used Bob Schmelzer, even though he wasn't Michael J. Fox's stunt double, because the skating was so good. So that was Perry Willander. Props to both of them. So there's a couple different skaters in this.
Whoa, kid, stop. Hey. I'll get it back to you, all right?
And I love the idea that Marty McFly is the one who inspired kids to take the boxes off their skateboards, because that was, the original skateboards were scooters like that. The only issue that I have with this is that the board itself has 2 sets of trucks, so it has 4 trucks and 8 wheels, and that may seem cool, but if you truly rode a board like that, the trucks would counteract each other. So as you're standing on it, it would kind of force itself to keep going straight. You'd have to get all the way on one side to make it turn, because you only want to be on those 2 wheels or turn the other way on those 2 wheels. So this skateboard would be so hard to ride like that. Well, the original skateboard was a piece of wood with roller skate wheels and trucks, but only 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So you would have 4 wheels. This is an 8-wheeler, but these guys managed to ride it, and you can tell how they sort of forced a kicktail on it. So there's a little pad on the back there. That is not something that would have been on a scooter, but they needed it for this effect, and also so that they could put flints in it, so they could do that sparking thing. Why do movies have to have sparking skateboards? I don't know. But all this is real. This is holding on to the truck and skitching, I guess we would call it. And then this right here, it wasn't a great ollie, but it was real. So that's what I like about that scene right there. He clearly went off a jump ramp because of the angle of the board is already kicked up. So he's not doing a real ollie on that board, and he has use of a ramp. So you can see the real skateboard wheels there. They switched the board up to one that's more functional. So that's like real trucks and real wheels on a board that kind of looks like that stunt board. It's because they weren't doing the stunts on that 8-wheeler with steel wheels. That just wasn't happening. But on a board that small, with such a dysfunctional kicktail, to do an ollie over a bush like that I thought was pretty impressive. And then this, he's going fakie. That makes it a little bit harder because he's going backwards. That was a pretty good move. It would be hard to actually time the skateboard if it was already rolling backwards. You would have to give it its own sort of push through, but it worked for the scene. I thought it was clever writing. That was a weird stop, though, because generally if you're stopping on a skateboard, you're doing it with your heel. If you do it with your toe, it throws you into a spin. You could see why his board sort of turned a 90-degree as he came to a stop, because he was dragging his toe, and that sort of forced it into that angle. If we're skating and we want to slow down, we generally will straighten our back foot and drag our heel like that, so that it's sort of a rudder that keeps you slow, and it keeps your board straight, and it also prevents your tail from scraping on the ground. Because when you were a kid, you'd scrape your tail to come to a stop, and then your tail would end up getting worn out. It's called razor tail. And so you'd have this sort of death, almost knife on the back of your board, and if it ever hit you, it would cut you. Yeah, that board seemed to morph into a few different incarnations. It had white wheels on it for a while. It had wider trucks. It was more modern shaped. But hey, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful for Back to the Future that they included skateboarding and that it inspired kids to start riding skateboards. And that was, You know, for the time and place and for what they were trying to accomplish with showing that he created modern skateboarding, it was perfect.